16-year-old Nick admits his drug problem had such a hold on him that he stole $75,000 in gold from his parents' safe and spent it all on drugs. But as we began peeling back the layers of this story, our investigation uncovered troubling accusations about Nick's father, Jim. Claims that immediately shifted our focus and needed to be delved into before we could even begin to deal with Nick and his addiction. Now, Nick's mother, Liz, and her daughter, Chloe, are convinced it is Jim's parenting philosophy based on intimidation and physical abuse that drove Nick to drugs. Take a look.
Jim runs the household like a dictatorship. It's his way or the highway. He wholeheartedly believes in anger, yelling, intimidation, and humiliation.
I expect discipline and respect. I intimidate so I don't have to get physical.
My children have had to endure verbal, emotional, and physical abuse. He would take his fingers and poke them in the stomach to knock the wind out of them, which brought them to their knees.
When my dad would get mad at us, he would push us against the wall and raise his fist at us and say, bam, bam, bam. He was trying to scare us and intimidate us. I was terrified that my dad was actually going to hit me in the face.
My philosophy is, if you strike your child with the intention of hurting them, that's abuse. If you do it with the intention of getting their attention, then that's not. That's the approach that I've tried to use parenting.
Jim has been very hard on Nick.
My dad was constantly yelling at Nick. Sometimes he would get so angry, he'd start spitting, turning red, and coughing because he'd be yelling so loud and so hard.
When Nick was 4, Jim yelled at him so loud that he actually peed on himself. Jim would hold him up against the wall by his neck. Jim would hit Nick and justify it by saying he only used an open hand. He has been even more abusive to Chloe.
My dad has held me down by my hair and raised his arm and threatened to hit me with his fist. He would leave bruises. One time we were at the dinner table and my dad got so aggravated with me that he stabbed the back of my hand with a carving fork at the Christmas dinner table.
5 years ago, Jim was arrested for screaming at us that he was going to brutalize the entire family.
I was the one who called the police.
Jim was arrested for assaulting a child and 5 counts of uttering threats.
The absurdity in all of this is that my dad plays the victim and says that he's never done anything wrong.
Jim has traumatized the entire family.
My dad needs to get through his head that he is the root of our family problems.
Because of Jim's verbal, emotional, and physical abuse, my son is a drug addict.
Well, Liz admits that she failed Nick and daughter Chloe by not protecting them. But she says she just was terrified of her husband's emotional, verbal, and financial abuse and manipulation.
I have known Jim for 28 years. Jim constantly berates me. Jim often calls me a bitch and the in front of the children and says that I'm nothing more than a car payment.
Liz lacks confidence, so Liz validates herself by being both a sex toy for me and by being the slave in the house.
If Jim doesn't like the tone of my voice or the way I respond to him, it is a huge trigger. He is constantly trying to control me. I have not worked out of the home for the past 19 years because Jim told me I didn't need to. And in the past, I had to show him receipts for everything, even if it was a pack of gum. Jim pays for everything, and if he cuts me off, I will not be able to survive. He's mean, he's angry.
You have to live in fear around my dad constantly.
I know there are many times I failed to protect my kids, but I am scared to death of him. If I speak out against Jim, he would lash out at me, and I don't know what we would do without his financial support. I have basically trained the children to watch out for any triggers in him just to keep the peace in the house. We don't know any other way to survive.
Okay, now you flew in separately from your husband and you haven't wanted to see him. Has that worked? Have you seen him?
I haven't seen him, but he's been texting me quite often.
Here are some excerpts of the text that he sent while you were in LA. He says, 2 weeks ago, I was, and he makes a very explicit sexual reference here about what he was doing with you sexually. And you were begging for more, and now not a peep. So here's what's going to happen. I'm pulling out of the show. I never want to see any of you ever again. Your gold-digging Black Widow ways will be over. I better get a phone call within 5 minutes. Then Jim, to your daughter Chloe, says, are you part of this? It's bleeping broken with little chance of repair if she doesn't bleeping talk soon. Does he always threaten like this?
Always. It's constant.
That's just his way of managing.
Yep, that's his way.
He said in the tape, he admits that he intimidates. He says, I intimidate so I don't have to get physical. But he does get physical.
Yes, he does.
Is he selectively forgetting that?
I'm surprised that he actually admitted that to the show, because 100% he denies it with us.
Denies what?
That he's ever hit the children, that he's abusive.
No, he said I intimidate so I don't have to get physical.
Okay, well, he does.
But he does get physical, right?
All the time, yep.
And he actually spoke about that too. He says, as long as I don't strike them to hurt them, I only strike them to get their attention, then that's okay.
It's ridiculous.
You say he has a superiority complex.
He definitely does.
He thinks he's smarter than you.
All women.
You think he has a plan for today?
I know he does. He told us he does.
What's his plan?
He said he will destroy me on national television and that he has all the answers for Dr. Phil.
I understand that he rehearsed 6 hours last night.
Oh, really?
For today.
That sounds normal for him.
Yeah. What you're telling me here is that he's being abusive with you, he's being abusive with the kids. He thinks, in fact, that he's a loving, caring, giving individual. That's how he describes himself.
That's how he describes himself.
But if he comes out here and you say things that he doesn't want to hear, what's the reaction going to be as far as the way he treats you? Once you leave here, what's going to happen?
I'm really worried about that.
Well, so what's the plan? I mean, how are you going to be when he comes out here? Are you going to be honest? Or are you going to be straightforward?
I'm going to be completely honest.
And then when you leave here, what's he likely to do? Is he going to...
He will immediately start texting me, harassing Chloe and I.
Uh-huh. How long are you going to put up with this before you demand that he change or say enough's enough and too much is too much and this is too much?
I want it to happen today.
But last time he starved you out in 2 months. What's going to be different this time?
I just feel I'm in the right place this time, so hopefully it will work.
Well, you know, I'm about unifying families, and I hope I can get through to him. I hope he'll listen, because you have duties and responsibilities here as well. You're quite right. You've not protected your children, and failure to protect is neglect, and neglect is abuse. And you have a duty here, and you still have a 16-year-old in the mix here.
Yes.
Well, Jim is here. He says his wife is, and I quote, the world's lousiest parent, and, quote, a doormat who helped enable their son's deadly addiction. Well, we're going to meet him after the break.
My wife, she's more like a kid than she is an adult. She routinely does not hold the children accountable for anything they do. The children are in charge, and Liz is just a doormat. Liz has helped create Nick's drug addiction.
And later...
Should we talk about your 2-year affair?
You are a pathetic human being, a terrible father, and a worse husband.
Wednesday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
David became the poster boy for extreme weight loss after he shed 400 pounds. But his makeover didn't last because David regained it. He now weighs 648 pounds.
I can't stop myself from eating too much. Voila, Pepsi.
How is that funny to you? Food's not fickle, is it? It never calls you a name. It never throws anything at you. It just kills you.
It's destroyed my life.
I'm telling you, if everybody around you is buying your and sabotaging you, it ain't gonna change.
That's Wednesday.
Well, Liz and Jim's teenage son, Nick, recently admitted to robbing strangers at gunpoint to get money for drugs. Jim says his wife, Liz, needs to finally take accountability for the role she played in creating their son's addiction.
My wife is the world's lousiest parent. The children are in charge, and Liz is just a doormat. She routinely will take a bullet when they do things wrong. Liz is more interested in being their best friend. I talk parenting with my wife hundreds of times about unified front, dealing with the children, but my wife just doesn't believe in that. She has baby brain. She's been at home with the kids for 19 years, and her emotional intelligence hasn't evolved, and so she's more like a kid than she is an adult. She routinely does not hold the children accountable for anything they do. Now I'm dealing with my wife's codependency on her children. I've asked her to go get a hobby so she can associate with other people, parented pretty much by myself. I try to be a role model for my children. I lead by example. I'm a very giving person. When I first met my wife, it was pretty much love at first sight. The first time we went out on a date, I could have nailed her that night. I asked her for a peck on the cheek. The next night we did the dirty deed. I've always treated her like a queen. I love my wife to pieces. I don't trust her. My wife has poisoned the children against me. When I was arrested, I definitely got railroaded. I found out that it was Chloe that called the police. Chloe thought that if she got rid of the golden goose, she could control the golden eggs. What a 13-year-old doesn't have the wisdom to know is if you get rid of the golden goose, he stops laying golden eggs. The Crown prosecutor said these charges are ridiculous, and he dropped all the charges. I later found out that my wife was actually involved in the arrest. Mom had let Chloe take 100% of the blame for sending me to jail. My wife makes me into a villain. It's heaped on me. I'm at the stage now where I'm pretty tired. If things don't change, I'm going to leave.
Well, Jim, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You say she is the lousiest parent in the world.
So we need to put context around that. I usually say there's 3 elements in any household where you've got a dual parent family. There's nurturing, there's providing, and there's parenting. And I always say when I say that, my wife is the best nurturer on the planet. She takes care of us like nobody. I said, I'm the provider, and then when it comes to the parenting, she's the lousiest parent on the planet. And what that is she does not discipline, set limits, hold limits, and the kids walk over her like she's not even there.
I understand that you've worked out pretty much everything you want to say today.
My profession makes it so that I frame the situation. So I will go in my head and I will play through many different scenarios and have answers for each one.
We sat down and talked to Nick.
Okay.
He revealed why he hasn't been able to open up about you. Let's hear what he had to say.
Okay.
During my pre-interview, my dad was listening in on it, so I couldn't say any of the things about him that I wanted to say, or else he would have gotten extremely mad. He's already been a bit psychotic lately, so it would have driven him over the edge. I've requested that he not be in this room because I just don't know what his reaction will be. I have to go back to his hotel with him tonight, sleep in the same room with him, and honestly, last night I didn't even trust myself to go to sleep. I stayed awake most of the night. He's very scary. He's been talking about my mother disgustingly, talking about how she's a prostitute. I don't even want to go into all the things that he said, but they're horrible. He almost wrote a script of what he was going to say to Dr. Phil and to you guys, and he rehearsed it on me for about 6 hours, listening to him nonstop talking. He read about 90 pages of emails about disowning his children. I'm sure that he was pretending to be mild or calm. He tends to do that at work. Everybody loves him. He's this great, lovable guy, but then behind closed doors, things he does to his family are absurd and disgusting.
OMG. This is not the story I've gotten from him. And by the way, he did his pre-interview in my bedroom. I stayed in the living room, and I didn't go anywhere near the bedroom to honor his privacy.
Well, that's not what he says.
Well, I know that's not what he says, but I'm just telling you that's what happened. Yeah. I did my interview in my bedroom, and he did his interview in my bedroom.
Well,
and
let me ask you something, just father to father.
Yes.
You say she's got baby brain, and...
So let's qualify that too, please.
No, I don't want to listen to all your... Just answer the question. No, seriously, I want to know, answer the question. If you're so smart, why is your son robbing people at gunpoint, ODing on opiates, hooked on heroin? This is happening on your watch.
Yes, so I'll say, after 5 years ago, I checked out.
So you quit?
I pretty much quit.
Because I'm worried about your son, seriously.
So am I.
I've
say
been
he's
doing
a
this for 45 years.
He's a miracle.
He's taken...
Swear I won't forget this, why do I regret this? In my mind reckless, thoughts are feeling endless. Sitting up, I'm breathless, anxiety's infectious. I feel so defenseless, betrayed and embarrassed. I hate being open, I hate being broken. I feel like an ocean filled up with emotion. Anger ain't a potion, rub it on like lotion. I can feel it soaking, reopen, the scars have awoken. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go.
The pain makes it real. I don't wanna feel, I just wanna kill. The bad thoughts are still a good thought to feel. I'm just lost to feel, I'm just lost to feel. I need time to heal, I can't steer the wheel. Cause this drive to kill, and it gives me chills. A nice road to feel, I slip off the peel and crash all the steel. Will I ever heal?
I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go.
I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong,
by his count, 50 different drugs.
He told me that his mother has known about this for 2 years and done nothing about it. I've not been known about it because I was checked. I was hiding in my bedroom for 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's your job to know.
Well, it's my job to hide in my bedroom when I'm afraid of my family, which is what I did. I was afraid of my family for 2.5 years.
And he's been doing drugs the entire time he's been at your house for the last 2 weeks, and you're oblivious to it.
I have no... He does dabs. He does pot.
No,
He does...
he's done everything.
How do you know?
Because he told me.
We have conversations back and forth.
Which proves you don't pay attention.
What I mean...
Because I can tell in a minute when he's high.
It's not abuse. Okay, so let me ask you some questions.
It's abuse.
Is my wife breaking wooden spoons over my son's ass abuse? He said you've done that a dozen times.
And later, you say your mother paid you $300 to lie to CPS.
Yeah. I have this big green bruise.
Where did the bruise come from?
Came from my dad.
On a new podcast episode.
Well, 16-year-old Nick says he's been using drugs since he was 10 years old. He says he's dealt drugs.
Yep.
He's stolen from the family. He's robbed people at gunpoint. We asked him what effect it was having on him, and he says his brain's not working right.
I went 2 weeks ago to get him an ID with him, and he had to sign his name, and he couldn't even say, he misspelled his name.
Yeah. So why do you think he's doing drugs?
Lots of reasons. The reason he told me is watching his dad get sent to jail.
We got to make a decision here.
Yep.
You're either here to play the cover your ass game, or you're here to seriously help this situation, and your son is at risk here. And I'm interested in what your agenda is.
So have you read the letters and stuff that I sent in?
I've read every word.
There's items I didn't know I was coming on a Dr. Phil show someday, and there's letters and stuff that I sent you that talked about me reflecting and introspecting on the mistakes I've made. Yes, correct.
Yeah, read it all. Leads me to ask one overwhelming question that kind of overarches the whole thing. Why are you so insecure?
I'm not insecure. In fact, let me qualify that too. Up until 5 years ago, there wasn't a mountain I couldn't climb. There wasn't a challenge I wouldn't accept. I was very successful in my business. That event happened and it shattered me. It broke me.
So you are insecure?
With my family, absolutely.
You, by your own description, manage people in your family by intimidation.
Never starts that way, has never started that way.
Well, that's what you said.
No,
You said, and I'm sure you have a qualification and a couple of paragraphs about that, but you said, I manage by intimidation so I don't have to get physical.
At the end. So every incident that's ever happened, I go at it this tone of voice. I sit down with the kids, I start talking to them, and every single time I scream out, honey, come here, I need you, come here. She has insecurities.
So you're a victim of your children.
I didn't say victim. She has insecurities from her life where she was molested, that she is irrationally fear of conflict.
My questions for both of you are very thematic. You know, for you, it's why you've neglected the children and failed to protect them. And for you, it's why you've allowed your insecurity to drive you to abuse these children.
It's not abuse. It's never been abuse.
Well, let me tell you something. I've been doing this for 45 years, and I am trained in forensic psychology. I've often worked as an officer of the court, evaluating parental conduct.
Okay, so let me ask you some questions.
It's abuse.
Okay, let me. Is my wife breaking wooden spoons over my son's ass abuse?
Oh my God.
He said you've done that a dozen times.
A dozen?
Okay.
If that's happening, it would be abuse. Absolutely.
Is my wife taking drug money from my son to pay for a credit card that she secretly got, and that her daughter, my stepdaughter, racked up to $9,000? She's whining and complaining about it. He pulls out a wad, $8,000, hands her some money, and she accepts it. It happened this spring. Your son told me that.
No, that never happened.
Yeah. How about not telling me about the gold being stolen?
But you don't raise your voice,
How about
do you?
no, this is not raising my voice.
Okay. My attorney told me to take it because you lock the safe on me all the time whenever
I never locked. You had the.
You actually have.
You have the combination.
It started with your affair. And
you have
locked
the combination.
safe when you had an affair.
You have the combination.
Because I was just going to run off with your money.
So should we talk about your 2-year affair? Should we talk about your 2-year affair?
Before we had children?
Doesn't matter. You excuse
it. does actually matter.
You excuse it because we didn't have children.
It was long before we had children.
Actually, let's talk about this for a second.
You're pathetic.
When you were out...
You are a pathetic human being.
When you were
a terrible father and a worse husband.
Yeah. When you
You're
were
pathetic.
Yeah, why do you keep coming back? It was 3 weeks
I don't know.
It was 3 weeks 2 years ago. Within 3 weeks, you're coming saying, I want to come back. And you know what? I didn't let you come back. That's not
true.
the behavior of an abuser.
That's actually not true. You sent me over 300 texts in 2 weeks, and I didn't respond to a single one of them.
52. I filed them all with my lawyer.
Oh.
52 in 4 days.
Ridiculous.
We send 52 in an hour. I said 52. My lawyer was going to file perjury charges on you for lying.
Oh, I'm so sure he was.
This is the stuff we need to get. If you're really
Can I save us some time here?
Yes.
No matter how long you filibuster, I'm still going to ask the same question that I asked before you started the filibuster. Why are you so insecure? Did you tell her if you kill yourself, don't make a mess on the carpet?
No, I never said that. What's the context?
The context is she was going through a depression at the age of 13 and told us that.
Yeah, well, I was going through a depression at the age of 13, too.
Closed captioning provided by... Why are you so insecure?
My family makes me insecure.
Why?
Because I don't trust them.
Well, were you insecure when your son was 4 years old and you were screaming and yelling at him?
What happened was one time I was doing something and Nicholas interrupted me doing something and I barked at him and he peed his pants. And what happened was because he's not yelled at all the time, I shocked him and scared him.
That's your version.
No, that's not my version. That's his version too.
That's your
He
version.
doesn't even remember the incident.
Do you poke these kids in the stomach with your fingers? Have you done that to get their attention?
Yes, a couple of times.
Yeah.
Not regularly, a couple of times.
Have you stood them against the wall and...
Stand in the corner?
And stood against the wall and acted like you were going to hit him with your fist?
No.
You haven't done that?
No. So this is the
listen,
but
listen, if I need your help, I know right where you are.
So let me tell you, I know the situation. It was...
I'm just asking, it's a yes or no question.
No, it's not a yes or no question.
Actually, it is. You can explain if it's a yes. If it's a no, we can move on.
So the answer is no.
Okay, we can move on then, because they're lying, and I'll let them explain that when I talk to them.
Can I explain the situation?
If it's no, there's nothing to explain.
Oh, yes, there is, because there was a situation.
So it's a yes.
No, there was a situation. There was an incident where Chloe had done something. I went into her bedroom to confront her about it, started off nice and calm, and then she got into my face and started screaming and yelling at me. Again, I called for my wife to come and help. She refused to come and help. And then Chloe, she was acting like an adult, so what I did was I did grab her, held her, and I said to her, I said, if you're going to start acting like an adult, you're going to get treated like an adult. Stop doing this. She was like getting right in my face, this close, cussing, the whole nine. So the incident was a non-incident. Like, it was just like, Chloe, whatever you did, blah, blah, don't do it again. And she's very defensive. She's an attention seeker. She's been, from the age of 4 or 5, was identified as a control freak by her teacher. She was identified.
Did you tell her if you kill yourself, don't make a mess on the carpet?
No, I never said that. If I kill myself, if she kills herself?
Chloe, if you kill yourself, don't make a mess on the carpet.
I don't remember that, and I would never say something like that, but I don't remember that at all. Like, I don't even know what's the context.
The context is she was going through a depression at the age of 13 and told us that.
Well, I was going through a depression at the age of 13, too.
What?
Have you slammed Chloe to the ground?
Nope.
When she was 14?
Nope. Again, that's...
Did you elbow her in the face when she was trying to intervene?
No, never. What are you saying yes for? That never happened.
Were you arrested on July 20th of 2014?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
And were you charged with getting
5 counts of
physical
uttering
and
threats.
Making terroristic threats?
No, 5 counts of
that you
uttering
were going to
threats.
brutalize your family?
Yes, so let me tell you, and it's a statement. I tell this story to everyone, and I own up to what I did. Yeah, so the incident was 45 minutes long. 45 minutes long, where you sat on your perch and did nothing. Situation was, I was in the basement working out. My wife was upstairs doing her makeup. The kids were on the ground floor. Chloe went and hurt Nicholas. She grabbed him by the ears and yanked down and injured him. I didn't know about that. No one knew about that. Nick starts cussing on the main floor. I slowly came up the stairs, waiting for Mom to say something because...
Slowly came up the stairs.
Yes. You need to know the story because you still dream about it.
I was there.
No, you weren't there. You were up in the bedroom hiding behind doors.
No, I was actually there.
And so what happened was, actually, Nicholas had yelled, "Damn it!" Just as I got to the top of the stairs, you yell from behind closed doors, "Nicholas, watch your mouth." Nicholas turns around and says, "F you, Mom." That's when I came out the door, and I leaned over the island and I said, "Nicholas, watch your mouth. Don't talk to your mother like that."
Yeah,
that's fine. Swearing in our house happens. They were down in the basement.
You're exhausting.
And so I came out and I
All right, we're
defended
going to take a break. Liz and Jim's daughter, Chloe, is here. She says not only does she agree with her mother that her father was abusive, she blames him for creating a reason for her brother to escape to drugs. Well, we're going to hear from her after the break, and then I've got some questions for you with regard to Chloe. I can't believe what she says you did. We'll be right back.
My dad was constantly humiliating me. He used to hit us with a closed fist. He believes he is more superior than God.
Closed captioning provided by... Get back to today's topic. I want to tell you about Friday's episode. And I want to warn you, this is a very serious story with several shocking allegations made by a woman to her father. Now, this woman claims to have been drugged and filmed while being violently attacked. And not just that, according to her, the film was sold for millions of dollars on the dark web. Now, when I heard about these allegations, I knew I had to really dig in and try to get to the truth of the matter, because this was serious. Take a look.
The rape occurred New Year's Day, 1988. I was 17 years old. My dad blindfolded me and brought me into the bedroom. He raped me. My father videotaped the rape. I believe that he has sold videos of my rape.
My dad did not rape my sister. My husband is not selling it on the internet.
I did not rape my daughter, and I most certainly didn't videotape it.
It is all ludicrous, crazy delusions.
Well, think about what this does to a family. I mean, here's a daughter, and she's accusing her own father of raping her, commercializing it, selling it. And this is a family of accomplished lawyers. All of them are lawyers. They're used to dealing with all kinds of disputes. But what happens when it's in your own family and you're accusing your own flesh and blood? It fractures the whole family. And for a man in the family, he's afraid to be around her because if he's around her, she can accuse him of anything. So he's not even comfortable being in the same room with her. We're going to try to get to the bottom of all of this, so you're going to have to tune in to find out. There are a lot of layers to this story. You don't want to miss it. That's this Friday. Okay, let's get back to today's topic.
I am a teacher. I coach, I mentor.
Jim believes he's a thoughtful, kind, generous person.
I help develop people. I've developed leaders.
That is so laughable because everything is the complete opposite.
Jim says he thrives as a coach and a mentor in his professional life, but his wife says that at home, he is very different. Now, something he says he feared she would also do today, paint him as a villain. Now, Liz and Jim's daughter, Chloe, says her father won't like to hear it, but his behavior towards her and her family, in her opinion, is abusive.
Growing up has definitely been a nightmare with my dad. He controls my mom, my brother, and I. When it came to discipline, my dad's methods were completely outrageous. He'd throw us outside in the middle of winter in the clothes that we were wearing. He wouldn't let us put shoes on. He did this so often that my brother and I actually built a fort under our trampoline with a rain barrel, and we hid couch cushions in it and non-perishable food items. If he wouldn't lock us outside, my dad would belt our doors together because the knobs were right beside each other. He was so aggressive, he was angry, he was always like ready to punch. Physical abuse from my dad has been extreme. He used to hit us with a closed fist. One time in the 5th grade, my teacher noticed a huge green bruise on my arm. Child Protective Services got involved after that, and I was actually paid $300 by my mom to keep quiet. My mom wouldn't stick up for us because there would be extreme retaliation, and no one wanted to see her go down, so we just took the brunt of it. He had a very condescending attitude and would always talk down to me. My dad was constantly humiliating me. One time during a shift at work, my dad walked in and announced to all the customers, co-workers, and managers that he had cashed in my college fund because he was mad at me. I suffered with extreme depression for several years, and my dad told me one time that if I was to kill myself, to not make a mess on his carpet. I couldn't believe that I was hearing that from my father, who brought me into this world. My dad lives in his own delusional world where he believes he is more superior than God.
Glad you're here. Your father basically negates everything you're saying.
Well, not everything.
He says that you're just a control freak and thrives on attention.
Yep.
It sounds like my dad. He loves to make excuses, loves to put the blame on everyone else, and no accountability whatsoever.
Well, my hope...
I should bring the 20-minute audio tape I have of you.
He's not talking to you.
My hope today...
It doesn't matter. I should bring the 20-minute audio tape of you, of an interaction between us where it would make you not look so good.
Derogating your daughter is unbecoming to you.
You're right.
Tell me what your hope is for today.
I really hope that you can find some kind of positive outcome for our family. Definitely, I would love if you could help my brother. Like, he's my best friend, and I value his life way more than anyone else does, especially my dad. So I definitely want some kind of aid to him. I don't want his drug addiction to continue because he's just walking down a dark path, and I'm afraid that he's going to die.
You're the first one to make an adult comment since we've been here. Because I've listened to your dad badmouth you and your mother and your brother, and I haven't heard your mother or your father ask a question. Dr. Phil, is there a path that we can get Nick on to save his life? All I've heard is a bunch of venting and finger pointing and vitriol. And you're the first one to come out and say, I want help saving my brother's life.
Definitely.
In front of your kids, do you call your wife word?
No.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
No, I call her my beauty queen since the day I met her.
Angeles area and want to watch a live taping? Visit drphil.com and click tickets. Tickets are free, and I hope to see you soon. You say your mother paid you $300 to lie to CPS about what was going on in the home.
Yeah.
And why was that?
She was afraid of the outcome that was going to basically happen because of my dad. She was afraid of him, she was intimidated by him, and she didn't want to take the blame for everything that's happened as well. So I was given $300, and I had to tell the Child Protective Services agent at school the next day that it was my brother, who was in, I think, the 2nd grade at the time, that I had this big green bruise on my arm and that he did it.
Where did the bruise come from?
It came from my dad. And his excuse was that it was his flat knuckles, and that flat knuckles don't hurt.
And taken out of context.
And he stabbed the back of your hand with a carving fork.
Yeah, at Christmas dinner. That was pretty bad. I don't know how you don't remember, because everyone remembers.
By the way, 5 years ago?
In front of your kids, do you call your wife word?
No.
What?
No.
Yes, he does.
Yeah,
no,
he has.
I do not.
Yes, he does.
I call her my beauty queen since the day I met her.
Dr. Phil is trained in deception detection. Are you serious?
Well, here are some excerpts of texts that Jim sent Liz, his thoughts on women.
Not on women.
This is what you said. As long as you have a blank, you can get away with all manner of lies in our society. And what that asterisk there has 4 letters in it.
Yeah, but that's not calling her one. That says if you have one. And there's more text. You should actually put the whole text up, not just the 2 little bits.
This is what Nick reported. He said all kinds of stuff about you being a whore.
Yep.
You blank him for a new purse or shoes. Horrible, disgusting stuff I don't even want to say. Every hot girl we walk by, he talks about blank, blank, blank.
So I'm going to tell you that part there, I point him out to Nicholas and I say, Nicholas, she's a hottie for you, not for me.
He's 16.
He's 16 who's had sex with multiple girls.
16.
And you let your daughter have sex at age 13 in our house, under my roof, against my wishes. How is that any different?
You're there too.
Okay,
yeah, sorry, you threatened to send me to jail if I did anything about it.
Okay, that's an excellent, excellent effort at deflection. However, if you could explain to me, saying that your wife is the lousiest parent in the world, could you explain to me your son saying he said all kinds of stuff about you, this is mother, being a whore?
Yeah, so I didn't use that word. Go check, there's not one swear word.
You called me a prostitute.
Yes.
And I've been married to you for 23 years.
Well, so let me explain that.
Okay, no, don't explain it. Just tell me, do you believe that it's appropriate to be referring to a boy's mother as a prostitute?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, in the last few days, I've been trying to get closer to him because he's my son. So some of that stuff was buddy-buddy talk because he was buddy-buddying me.
What?
Oh.
Well,
okay.
no, it was because...
So it was you that was saying that her mistake is she wants to be more friends with the kids than a parent.
Yes.
And so you're saying this was you're buddying up to him, being his friend.
You got it. I stopped parenting 5 years ago. I was the parent for 13 years, and 5 years ago I stopped parenting.
Pot, meat, kettle.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm glad you said that's why I'm here. I want the kettle to know she's the kettle.
Well, he's only 16 and says there is not a drug he hasn't tried, but why does he think he started using drugs? Well, I'm talking about Nick. Give him that after the break.
I've probably tried 50 different drugs. I've had sold drugs to kids at school, people on the street. I stole about $75,000 worth of gold from my dad. I've had to rob people at gunpoint, do anything I can, basically, just to obtain my next hit.
Today's show is almost over, but we are hard at work on tomorrow's show and beyond. And we are always looking for great guests. Do you feel like you're at a breaking point and need my advice? Go to drphil.com and click Be on the Show or text Phil to 88500. We'll be right back. Closed captioning provided by...
They say, do you believe in love at first sight? Yes, when it comes to a dog. It was love at first sight. Mo is family, so I feed him Blue.
Exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
We are out of time today. Here's a sneak peek at tomorrow's show.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, a son's deadly addiction.
I've overdosed a few times. It's a vicious cycle.
Is dad part of the problem?
So he would scream at you or hit you, but for a reason.
Yes.
He's lying.
Dad, I don't have any reason to lie.
Yes, you do.
Your son needs serious help.
That's what I do. I save my freaking family when they're in trouble.
Jim, you're like somebody that sets a house on fire and then runs in and saves everybody.
That's tomorrow.
Will Jim look both his children in the eye and deny his alleged abuse and continue to play the victim? Plus, find out what Jim's son confesses about his father. You do not want to miss this. I want to thank all of my guests today. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. I saw this post recently on my Facebook. Teresa Wildman asked, Dr. Phil, what's on your bucket list? Well, you know, there's a lot of things on my bucket list. I think the next thing I'm going to do is get type rated in a Gulfstream 4. You're shaking your head. Type rated in a Gulfstream 4 means certified to fly a Gulfstream 4 jet. I fly it, but I'm not certified, so I'm going to do it where I can do it by myself. You don't want to go with me by myself, do you? No, all right. No. That's going to take probably all summer to do, but that's on my bucket list. So we'll see if it happens. Thanks. We'll see you next time.